Myself Padmaja, Associate Professor, Department of CSE, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Now, let us discuss today the built-in class attributes and garbage collection, how it is done in Python. Let us begin with the built-in functions to check, set, get and delete the class attributes. Now, let us start with these functions. Now, in Python, there are 4 built-in functions which are very popular and commonly used. One is called has attribute, then get attribute, then followed by set attribute and delete attribute. These 4 are related to work with the class attribute. Now let us start with has attribute. This particular function takes 2 arguments. One is called the name of the object and the attribute name. Now this particular function will check that whether the object possesses this attribute or not. Okay. If the attribute is available, then it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. So it will check whether the object has that attribute or not. That's why the function name is also has attribute. Similarly, the next function is called get attribute. This get attribute function takes 3 parameters. One is called the name of the object and name of the object, then followed by the name of the attribute and the default. Okay, so this particular function is used to access or get the attribute of an object. So it is a built-in function which takes object as the first parameter. The second parameter is the name of the argument and the third is the optional parameter or the default parameter that will be returned if the attribute doesn't exist. Now, if the attribute exists, then it will return its value. Now, the third function is called set attribute. So, if you want to set an attribute for a particular object, you can use this function set attribute. Now, let us see what are the arguments for set attribute function. So, set attribute takes 3 arguments. One is called the name of the object. Second one is called the attribute name. And what value you want to set, you can give it as the third parameter. Now, this function is used to set an attribute of the object. So, if the attribute doesn't exist, then it will be newly created. Now, the first parameter of this is the object name. Second parameter is the name of the attribute. And the third parameter is the value that you want to set for the attribute. Now, coming to the fourth function that is called delete attribute. This delete attribute takes 2 arguments. What is the object name and the second one is the attribute name. So, this particular function deletes an attribute. Now, once deleted, the variable is no longer a class or object attribute. So, let us see these 4 important built-in functions, how to use it in programming. Now, in this program, we have defined a class. The name of the class is student. Now, in this student class, there is a constructor called init. This is a constructor. Now, we are passing one variable to this constructor A and we are storing it. Now, we are displaying the value of the variable or attribute. So, A is the attribute over here. Now, let us use this built-in functions, how to check whether the object is having an attribute or not, how to set the attribute with a new value, how to delete the attribute and so on. So, these 4 functions, let us apply it. So, for this student class, let us first create one object. So, S is an object of student class. And you can invoke the display method. So, by writing like this, s.display. So, we are invoking the display method and we are displaying the attribute value A. So, you have passed, for the attribute value, you have passed A is equal to 501. So, you will get here the 501. Variable is 501. You will get the output. Now, let us check whether the object S has an attribute or not by writing has attribute S comma A. So, here S is the object and A is the attribute. A is the attribute. So, this has attribute will return either true or false. So, this particular object is having this attribute? Yes. So, in this case, it will return true as the output. Next, let us get the value for the attribute A by writing get attribute method. So, get attribute takes the object. So, S is the object and the name of the attribute is A. This is the attribute. Now, get attribute means it will find out the value of A in the object S. So, what is the value of A? It is 501 will be the output. Right. So, the next method is called set attribute. So, already the attribute A is having a value 501. If you want to change it to a new value, that you can do it through set attribute. So, we are writing here set attribute. So, for which object? For the object S. S is the object. For S is the object. For which attribute? A is the attribute. Then, what is the value? So, this is the new value we are giving for the attribute A. So, 501 will be replaced with 502 here. Now, so after setting the value, if you will check S dot A, object name dot attribute, so we will get the new value, that is 502. Now, if you want to set a new attribute which the object is not having, then also it is possible through set attribute. For example, for this object S, we want to create a new attribute called count, and we want to provide a value to that attribute, that is called 10. So, it is possible that you can set an attribute with a new value. So, set attribute for this object S, count is the new attribute you are creating with a value 10. So, set attribute is playing the dual role. Existing attribute's value you can replace it, or a new attribute you can create with a new value. So, both ways you can use it. So, the new variable count is your created, and its value if you want to print, it will print as 10. Similarly, if you want to delete one attribute, you can do it through del attribute method. Del attribute, S is the object, and which attribute you want to delete? You want to delete this attribute A. So, after deleting, if you will check what is S dot A, then you will get error because that no longer exists because you have deleted that attribute. So, let us see the output. So, initially you have called the display method. So, 501 is printed. Next, you have checked the has attribute. Yes, A is the attribute, true. Then, you have set the new value for the attribute A. 501 is replaced with 502. Yes, you got here. Then, the new count variable you have created and you have given a value. So, this is the output. Now, after deleting the attribute, you are trying to access that attribute. So, you have got the error over here, that is attribute error, that the attribute A doesn't exist. Now, after knowing about the built-in functions which are used for class attributes, let us understand what are the built-in class attributes are there. So, we have understood already what are the built-in functions. Now, we will understand now what are the built-in class attributes. Now, in Python, there are a number of class attributes available which are built-in, but out of that, we are going to discuss a few important class attributes. So, first one is called the dictionary attribute. So, the built-in class attributes starts and ends with a double underscore. So, built-in dictionary attribute gives the class or object's namespace in dictionary format. Second one is called the doc attribute. This particular attribute gives the class documentation if specified. You know that function documentation, function docstring or class docstring you can write inside a class or function. So, in that case, if the documentation is specified, then if you want to display the documentation, because the documentation is by default stored into the doc attribute. So, if you will print it, you can see the documentation which is provided with the class. Now, the third one is called the name attribute. So, the third one is called the name attribute. This name attribute returns you the name of the class. Fourth one is called the module. This gives the name of the module in which the class or object is defined. So, you can find out what is the module name. The fifth one is called the basis. Now, this particular attribute is very important whenever you are using inheritance concept. So, it will tell you what is the base class. So, you can find out the sequence of base classes which is used in a program by using this built-in variable. So, these are some of the important built-in class attributes. Now, let us see how to use this built-in class attributes using a program. So, first we are going for an employee class. So, here employee is a class. Now, here we have a constructor called init is the constructor, and to this constructor we want to initialize the value of employee ID and name. So these two are the instance variables. So whatever values you are providing to this instance variables, it is storing it. Now, employee ID and name are the instance variables. Now, in the user-defined display method, public method, you are displaying the value of employee ID and name. So, this is about the class where we have a constructor and we have one public method. Now, how to use this built-in class attributes? Let us see by creating an object of the class. So, first, let us create the object of the class. E is the object of employee class. So, we are passing the values for employee ID 101 and Rama is the name of the object. Okay. Now, we are invoking the display method. So, it will print 101 and Rama as the output of this display method gets executed and you will get this output. Now, let us see how to use this built-in attribute. So, dictionaries, the object's namespace, we want to print in dictionary format. So, we can write here, the object name is the name of the object, dot built-in attribute name is the dict attribute. So, it will just represent the object's namespace in dictionary format. So, at this particular object E is having two instance variables. So, it will display in your dictionary format, like it will display like this. The first one is employee ID. What is the value? Value is 101, comma. Second one is the name and what is the value? The value is Rama. So, it will just give this output in dictionary format. Now, similarly, if this class contains any documentation, you can print e.doc. But here we didn't mention any documentation, so you won't get anything. Now, what is the name of the class? So, employee.name. If you want to display the name of the class, you will get the name of the class as employee only. Now, what is the name of the module? If you have used any module concept, you will get it. And if you have used any inheritance, you can display the base class name. Now, we have not used any inheritance here. Now, you can see the output. First, the display method is invoked. So, this is the output. Then, your dictionary object namespace is printed in dictionary format. So, you got in dictionary format. Then, documentation string you have not used. So, you have got none. Name of the class is employee. Then, name of the module. By default, it is main module. And the base class concept inheritance you have not used over here. Now, let us understand what is garbage collection and how to destroy the objects. So, what is garbage collector in Python? Now, the advantage of Python programming is Python performs automatic garbage collection. Now, it means that it deletes all the objects, means whenever the objects gets deleted, the memory space occupied by those objects are released or freed up and it is collected by the garbage collector. So, whenever you will never feel that you have gone out of memory space because automatically as a background process, the garbage collector program will be always running. So, whenever you delete any object, the memory space is freed up and it will be collected by the garbage collector. So, the process by which the Python periodically reclaims unwanted memory is known as garbage collection. This is the fundamental definition of garbage collection. Now, Python's garbage collector always runs in the background during program execution. It immediately takes action as soon as the object reference count reaches to 0 or whenever the object gets deleted or it is no longer needed. So, automatically it collects and releases the memory. Thank you. In this video, we have learned about the built-in functions, built-in attributes which are required for your classes and objects, and also we talked about what is the role of garbage collector in Python. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.